Some characters ignite emotion, some steal the hearts of audiences, and then there are characters like Mona Vanderwaal, the ones who become the best part of the entire show. In Pretty Little Liars, Mona wasn't just your average suspect, or even a villain. She was the epiphany of what made the Liars so fucking awful in the first place.
Other towns have nice toxic domes. Rosewood has you.
Longer before all these big reveals and more complicated villains arrived, Mona set the standard. She was smart, wounded, funny, dangerous, unpredictable, and always 10 steps ahead of everyone around her, including the police, all while maintaining perfect hair, a high GPA, and a high-ranking position in the French club. Depending on the season, she could be considered a villain, mastermind, ally, enemy, survivor, or all of them at once. And that's exactly why, in my opinion, Mona is one of the best written characters in all of Pretty Little Liars, the entire verse. But you all know that we cannot discuss Mona without talking about heavy topics, including identity, power, performance, humiliation, revenge, and the desperate need to feel seen. Now let's talk about Mona Vanderwaal and all the times she's made us want to scream. Welcome to my small little corner of the internet. If you don't know me, my name is Nathania Ray, also known as Scream Chats here on YouTube. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are not, welcome back. So when we first meet Mona, she's pretty much a dweeb who's often ignored and made fun of by Alison and the other liars. In the books, she's chasing behind Alison and Spencer, trying to get their attention and hang out with them. On the TV show, it's pretty much the same exact thing, except it's Aria rather than Spencer. The girls run away from Mona until they end up in a back alley, which is where they spotted Byron having his affair. Fast forward a year, Aria is back from Iceland and shocked to see that Mona now appears to be the classic popular it girl alongside hefty Hanna. On the surface, she looked like someone who had just won the game of high school. But Mona's story began long before that makeover. Before the confidence, the status, the cruelty, Mona was one of Alison DiLaurentis' favorite targets. She was incessantly mocked, shamed, and treated as invincible unless Alison decided to make Mona the brunt of her jokes for the day. In the show, that history becomes the emotional root for Mona's anger. She didn't just like Alison, she internalized everything that Alison represented. Shaped by humiliation, Mona decided she would never be powerless again. Thus, the birth of A. I do have another video like this coming soon on the life of Alison DiLaurentis, so if you like this video, you should probably like that one as well. So give this video a like and subscribe so that you can be notified when it goes live. Mona had been taunting Alison with angry texts, threatening notes, and even physical masked harm for almost a year before her disappearance. Whenever she got the opportunity to scare the living shit out of her bully, she took it. That included harassing her on the night of Halloween, threatening to kill her when she went out on the search for A, and genuinely making the girl fear for her life so much that she faked her death at 15 years old. Fuming and desperate to end Alison's torment for good, Mona found her way in the DiLaurentis' backyard with a shovel in hand. Seeing Bethany parading to the house, thinking it was Alison, all the torture flashed before her eyes, and she swung. And I support a woman's rights and wrongs, I'm just saying. So with the yellow top and the blonde hair as confirmation, Mona fled the scene thinking that she had put an end to Alison DiLaurentis and cut off her bully for good. So now imagine the shock that Mona experienced when she's on her way driving home, or maybe she was on her way to the Lost Woods Resort. I think she was going home though. On her way home from a busy night of stalking and murdering, more attempted murder because she didn't fully even take Bethany out. She just hit her over the head. Melissa finished that girl off. But anyway, imagine the shock that Mona experienced seeing a dirtied, messed up Alison walking down the road. Ah! And instead of using this as an opportunity to kind of backpedal and like try to, you know, make good, I guess, with Alison in a way, she didn't even try. She was like, girl, you need to get out of town. Somebody's trying to kill you. Oh my gosh, I wonder who that could be. Oh my god, Mona was so good. Oh my gosh, she really played the game better than any of them when you think about it. Even if you look at season 7, oh my gosh, the foolery of a Mona. Anyway, we'll get to it. Mona took advantage of this opportunity of Alan's fear and pushed her to leave town, allowing everyone to believe that she was dead. So, terrified of the events leading up to this moment, Alison took her advice and gave some of her own, trying to help Mona become the new it girl as a thank you for helping Alison get away from her stalker, who was Mona. Can we give this girl a round of applause, please? Talk about girl boss, what is it? Gatekeep, girl boss. There's another one. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. After Alison disappears, Hanna and Mona reinvent themselves together, stepping into the social vacuum that Alison left behind. But even in that friendship, there's all this tragedy and trauma that Mona buried deep under the surface, and Hanna was a little too naive to see it. Mona didn't just want popularity the way Hanna did. She needed it. She needed that proof that she could be the kind of girl that people noticed and feared and respected. As much as she hated Alison, she needed to be her, to outdo her. And that was the only way that she knew how to be happy within herself. And I think there's something so dark and tragic about that. I just love talking about Mona's character because her lore is so dark and twisty and ironic when you really look in between the lines and think about all the things that she's done and think about why she may have done those things. It's just, it's so good. And she learned from her experience as a victim that cruelty does create control, and control is power. And that power is what drives Mona in her core. It's her defense mechanism. Because without that power, without deep down, all she really is loser Mona, and that terrifies her. So, honored to be popular and included, Hanna reluctantly but still did, she shunned Mona. And this is part of the reason why Mona feels so resentful of Hanna and gives her such a big brunt of the torment when she becomes close with the liars again. It's so much more personal between her and Hanna than it is with the other girls. Thus, one of the most emotionally complicated relationships in the entire series. The Ouija board, the riddles, the blackmail forcing the girls to betray one another were all expressions of Mona's need to control the emotional terms of every relationship around her. These deep, connective relationships that she lacked in her own life. Even when she wanted connection, power was more important to her. There's a lot of debate on this topic, given that technically is what brought the liars back together, but I think this is easily debunked by the notion that Mona is paranoid and extremely insecure, right? She saw Hanna go out of her way to talk to Spencer at that mall to give her the fashion advice and to just catch up. And she also saw Hanna wave at Mona when the pair spotted her in Fitz's class on the first day of school. So in Mona's mind, with Aria back, it was probably just a matter of time before Hanna abandoned her again. And technically she was right. So I do have another video that's coming up pretty soon. I already scripted it. I just have to film and edit it, of Hanna and Mona's relationship. It's a deep dive into that. And I highly recommend, if you do like that relationship, if you like either one of those characters, that you check that out. And definitely keep an eye out for that. It will be coming soon. If you are not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe so you can get notified when it comes out. When Mona is revealed as in the season 2 finale, Unmasked, It works within the confines of the story because it feels so personal. Mona's reveal is built up in the first 2 seasons. We witness firsthand through all these flashbacks her awful history with Alison, this complex friendship that she has with Hanna. She's present at a lot of the major events that happen throughout the show, like for example the fashion show. Mona was there running the shots. Her and Noel were working together with that video, which, oh my goodness, I think that may have been one of my favorite publicity things or whatever. They did a lot of things to humiliate the girls in public, but I think that fashion show was so good, and Mona was at the forefront of that episode. There are also these little moments where Mona's intelligence kind of seeps out, and you can see, like, wait, this girl is a lot smarter than she lets on. Interesting. There are those little threads put throughout the story. And she has plenty of cause to resent the liars as well. But she didn't just threaten the liars. She studied them. She isolated them. She weaponized their insecurities. She created games where the only real goal was to have psychological control over them. The same psychological control that they had over her. That's why Mona's version of A feels just so much more effective for me than the later versions. It's so much more intimate. We've gone through this whole journey with her, and I'm so glad that the showrunners decided to keep her on because her character continued to develop and steal my heart right up until the show's finale. After her reveal, Mona is sent to a mental institution named the Radley Sanitarium. Now, you'd think that the writers would have just left her there to rot, occasionally using her to move the plot forward or give an answer that the liars couldn't come up with on their own. But thankfully, they had enough sense to keep Mona on as a show regular. Marlene King, you did something very good there, and you should be very proud of yourself. Thank you. And this decision definitely was for the best because once the hoodie came off, Mona was even more fascinating to watch on screen. She was vulnerable, she was isolated and heavily medicated, and she still managed to be as cunning as ever. According to Dr. Sullivan, she was diagnosed with a perpetual state of hyperreality paired with extreme intelligence and high-functioning traits. This girl was the reason I was still clocking in every week to find out what the hell was going on. Was she just a minion for an even bigger bad? Was she hallucinating from all the drugs? Would she get some form of a redemption arc? There was just so much to explore with her, and I was sat for all of it. We also know that during this time, Cece frequently visited Mona for information about her stint as A. She later used this data to appoint herself as Mona's silent partner, and after the lodge fire, to take the game from her entirely. But even after the lodge fire, though, there was this constant back and forth with the audience, at least for me, and I know a lot of my friends who have seen the show as well agree, but we were all asking ourselves, is she really a victim in all of this, or is she still playing the liars? Can she be trusted? There would be so many instances where she would help the girls, but it was because she was being secretive and lurking from beyond the shadows. To be fair, the girls didn't want to include her in anything because of her history, but she was still very much stalking them in her own way. Even if she wasn't A, she was still watching them and creeping, and it was so uncomfortable. So it was hard to gauge where her loyalties laid, and I lived for it. It also seems that Ren was her doctor, or at least one of her doctors on her team at this point, and it's unclear if it was him or Cece who gave Mona the information needed to get in and out of Radley. But considering that Ren didn't turn out to be a villain or have a scene explaining this explicitly, we're going under the canon of Cece being the culprit. Cece is the one who gave her everything she needed to sneak in and out of Radley. How a fellow mental patient would be able to provide that information, I don't know. But I don't think the showrunners knew either or cared. So, whatever. I will say though that the dynamic between Mona and Ren is so fascinating, and I wish we had more of those therapy sessions between them. I wish we just had more therapy sessions in general with the girls. I really like what Original Sin did with this, how they had Dr. Sullivan, a main character in the episodes, where they would really meet with her and talk about the things that they were going through and work through it with her, and it was a joined group. I loved that. And I really wish that we had more therapy sessions between Mona and Ren in the canon timeline, because oh my gosh, it was so fascinating to watch. And if Ren had ultimately ended up being Big A and we had those extra therapy sessions, oh gosh, it would have been so good. So good. But also, regardless of who was on her medical team, though, Radley did not stop Mona from anything. She was still blackmailing Lucas. She was still blackmailing Melissa and Toby to do her dirty work on the Halloween train while she was sneaking in and out of that place. And she was still actively working as A up until the lodge fire. I am so glad that they ended up shutting Radley down in the show, because that place was so awful. It had to have been full of such incompetent staff. It was awful. And I do also have an entire history of the Radley Sanitarium coming up pretty soon. That's probably going to be later this month or towards early next month maybe, but it is coming, so keep an eye out for that as well. One of the many reasons why Mona's character is so refreshing is that the show kept evolving her role. She went from being a mastermind to a pawn, the hunter to the prey. She was the one who built the game just to end up a player on the board. And when Cece took the game from Mona, she didn't just take the game. She lost so much more than her control. She lost her identity. It was stolen from her, much like she stole Alison's. And this is what drives her to play double agent in season 5, fake her death and expose A. Of course it backfired and she failed and got kidnapped, but obviously A knows everything, and there were probably hidden cameras inside of Mona's bedroom. So when Mike found that fridge full of blood and confronted her about it, it's likely that A or Cece had witnessed that entire conversation and adjusted accordingly, because that's what A does. And I truly think the worst part about Mona being in the dollhouse was the fact that she was forced to take on Alison's identity. And yes, she had always envied Alison and wanted to be just like her. Yes, she did create this entire persona and torment Alison's friends, but being forced to actually cosplay Alison in an underground dungeon, facing the hole whenever she wasn't compliant, had to be the darkest shit that this show has ever done. I would also like to take this opportunity to give Miss Janelle Parrish her flowers, as she was so phenomenal in this role. It's such a shame that we didn't get any time with her to unpack the dollhouse or the trauma of the dollhouse like we did with the other girls. There was one scene in the time jump where Mona had asked Spencer if she was still having nightmares, and honestly, I would have been sat for a little mini series of Mona's therapy sessions with Dr. Sullivan, kind of like how they did the special episodes of Euphoria. Imagine if they had done special episodes after the dollhouse with each of the girls, just showcasing how they were coping with the dollhouse. And I would have included Mona in this, just because the dollhouse had to have been so traumatic for her, even more so than the girls. Remember, the girls were there for a little over 3 weeks, maybe a month. Mona was there for 6 months. Yeah, Mona was there for 6 months. I think we forget that. She was there for so much longer than the other girls. Hey guys, Editing Nathania here, and I cannot believe that I forgot to mention Mona taking out Cece. Oh my gosh, what a crime. But I do want to say that I loved this down real bad. I think that if anyone was going to do it, it should have been Mona. And I'm glad that I did mention that she was in the dollhouse longer than everyone else, because Mona really got the brunt of the dollhouse more than any of the other girls. And whilst Mona kind of went through not a full redemption arc, but you could see that Mona at least tried to do a little bit better, especially when it came to Hanna in the later seasons, whilst Cece did not care. And it was very blatant that Cece was going to go back to being evil after she was released, and she did not care about Alison. She just used her to get out of, what was she in, Welby, I think it was after Radley closed down. I loved this ending for Mona so much. And I also think it was hilarious. Mona, everyone went around in season 7 and voted for who they thought was the one that took out Cece and who they were going to sell out to Alex Drake. And Mona was like, it was Alison. Oh my god, I truly love this show so much, and Mona is 1000% my favorite character on this entire show. She is so iconic. Mona Vanderwaal's story is ultimately about transformation. What people become after humiliation, what they pursue power for, and whether reinvention can ever truly heal the damage buried deep within ourselves. I will note that Mona's role in kidnapping Spencer for Alex Drake in season 7, as well as her kidnapping Alex and Mary before fleeing to Paris with them, are not my favorite storylines. Personally, I hated this ending. I think that the poor girl just needed some friends, okay? Beyond the world of high school teen drama, if Mona had some freaking friends, some real genuine friends, the way that the liars were friends to one another, I think Mona would have been fine. I think she would have been able to heal, and she would have been able to grow as a person. But because she never really got that, she never really, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because of guilt why she didn't really get that far with Mike, because their relationship seemed pretty sweet. And I think if Elena Gilbert could forgive Damon and hook up with him and be his girl for all of eternity, or for the rest of their, spoiler for Vampire Diaries, for the rest of their human lives, I think that Mona and Mike Montgomery could have ended up together. That might be an unpopular opinion, but truly I enjoyed them more than I enjoyed Emerson, by a landslide. So comment your thoughts about that down below. I would love to know who was your favorite couple, Pretty Little Liars, and did they make it to the end? Because the final rendition of the couples are not my favorite. I don't like Hanna and Caleb together anymore in the finale. I don't like, well, obviously, yeah, Spencer and Toby, I don't like them together in the finale. Emerson, I hated. Aria, and yeah, I hated them all. So there's that. I won't even mention The Perfectionist because I didn't care to watch that show further than episode 2. But if you enjoyed this breakdown, you would love this one up on the screen. Subscribe to the channel for more Pretty Little Liars deep dives, character analysis videos, rewrites, and storytelling discussions. Next week, we will delve into Hanna and Mona's relationship, so stay tuned for that.